Well, greetings, everyone. Welcome to COS Today. Ken, I see we got the Facebook message again. Like I said, we get that message. We've been getting it as soon as we go live.
All right. I'll have to go to work on it.
Yeah, I don't understand what it is, folks. And we got a little technical problem going on, folks, and with our feed to Facebook. So we've been dealing with this the last 2 or 3 broadcasts. So hopefully we'll get it straightened out again this time. So if you're a Facebook viewer, bear with us. Hopefully we'll get to you very soon. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And Ken, we might as well. Let me get over to my other stuff here, and let's let Maringo Mike greet everyone and get us off on the right foot here.
All right.
The program, please be sure and hit the like and subscribe buttons along with the notifications bell so you'll always know when we go live. We appreciate your support and hope you'll join us on our mission to use the Constitution to save the Constitution. Now, back to the program.
All right, go Maringo Mike. Well, I see you got us connected to Facebook now.
Yeah, we're going to have to, I guess, maybe do a test before we get started to see if that'll work. But
I got to remember to follow up on this with StreamYard.
StreamYard needs to straighten that out. They can't.
Something's not right there. Something's not right.
Cut us off there for the start. So welcome, Facebook users.
Yeah.
Sorry for the delay.
Ken, we don't normally show this. As you can see, my note is to skip this normally, but I thought I'd do it anyway this time. This is broadcast number 353. And Ken, you've been on board for 211 of them. So we're racking them up here, aren't we?
Yeah. Starting to feel like it's time for an oil change. I don't know.
As we always say, COS Today, we're saving the country with Convention of States. That's what we're trying to do. Saving the country with Convention of States. I'll tell you, Ken, it just becomes more clear to me every day that Convention of States, holding a Convention of States, is the solution as big as the problem in this.
It's proof again that our forefathers knew a whole lot more than many of us ever thought that give them credit for. I think
that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, let's get right into our first segment here, and this is our In Focus segment, and this has been a very, very popular segment with us. We bring on some guests, and we all talk about just what's caught our interest in the news. In other words, what is our focus right now? And could be anything and everything. So let me bring on our guests this evening that are going to join us. And here is another gentleman with a good-looking hat, and that's Gary Harbaugh, the Convention of States State Director for Indiana. So hello, Gary.
Glad to be here, Dale and Ken. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Then next is Susan Lyon, the editor of our Indiana State newsletter, The Finish Line. Hello, Susan.
Hello, Dale. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Susan, did your husband Rick, did he get the lawnmower out of the lake? Did he finally?
Yes, he went in. I guess he waited in there a little ways to get it, but he's put it on vacation for the time being until the water level goes down a little bit again.
That was so funny. If we had one of these vacuum cleaners, a robotic vacuum cleaner, and of course if you all have one of these, you know that it maps out the carpet and the outlying lines, so it knows where to go and where to turn there. And evidently, Rick's lawnmower did the same thing.
Yeah, it has a GPS boundary that it stays within, but
But they live on a lake.
With all the rain, the level had risen, so it's up beyond the line, and so it was ready to head right down, into the water. Oh, yeah,
So
not good.
It sounds like along with the GPS, Susan, it needs
He's
to
been
get hooked
chasing the
up with
geese with it now.
along with the GPS, Susan. It needs to get hooked up with the marine forecast or something.
Anyway, I thought that was so funny. Okay, and our last third guest this evening is Miss Debbie Stewart, and
Thanks for having me.
Debbie is a regular with us, and a homeschooler and a homeschool teacher, and very COS supporter here in the state of Indiana. So nice to have you. You're back off vacation, another vacation, I might mention.
Might as well.
Might as well. That's right. That's right. So, in focus segment, Debbie, why don't you lead us off tonight with what's caught your interest in the world today?
Yeah, I love the story of the lawnmower. It's because, all this AI stuff is good on the one hand, but it's like it's overkill now where, there's a reason that you have a human being running things. So the human being stops at the water and goes, oh, wait, the water level is different. I'm going to do a 180 with my mower. Yeah. So I kind of wanted to just chat a little bit about AI and specifically self-driving cars. So it's interesting. They say they're self-driving, and some people call them self-automated, but like Tesla says, oh, but you need a driver. They're not to be driven without a driver. I'm like, okay, so they're self-driving, but you need a driver. So anyways,
have any of you been in a self-driving car or whatever you call it? You have, Gary?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Debbie. I'd like to hear Gary's experience on that.
Oh, yeah. And my husband took one. He was out in Phoenix because they're all over Scottsdale. They kind of have been testing them out there. And he took one from the airport to his hotel and then back. And I wouldn't want to get on the interstate with one of those, but it didn't. It got on all the side roads. But anyway, so there's been some accidents. The most recent one was in Texas. This is just recently, I think in this last week. But basically, there was a man driving a Tesla, which was a self-driving car, and he said that it just went into sped up. It blew through the stop sign, went through a neighborhood about 50 miles an hour, and crashed right into a home, a brick home, and the 76-year-old woman was life-flighted but didn't make it. Went right through the brick and into the home. You see the video. Do you see this car just go right by all the homes,
I did see that part, yes.
Okay, yeah. You saw that, yeah. And so it's very interesting that they are looking at 3 million Teslas. Why did that happen? It's not the only one. Previous to that, again in Texas, they had a driver's ed car that did the same thing, but it was at a railroad crossing and there was a train coming and it just hit the gas by itself and went right through broke through the little gates that come down, and the train just missed it by about 3 seconds.
Wow.
And so my question is, it's kind of fun and it's kind of exciting unless you're in the car or you're part of the wreckage, the carnage. But what is our legislation around that? I don't know what our legislators are doing. I didn't have time to look that up at all, but I feel like this whole AI thing, like God intended for man to work because it gives us purpose. And AI is taking so many things away from us. It's one thing to have a calculator to help you do your math. It's another thing to hire a robot to just take your class for you, right? So I just thought that was interesting that these accidents are happening. It'd be interesting how Tesla responds to that. And the man in the vehicle, he wasn't intoxicated. He said the car just took over. He's cooperating with the police. And so they really feel like it was the error was on the Tesla itself.
Yeah.
In both of those instances. Yeah. So I don't know what you guys think. I'd love to hear Gary's experience. Yeah.
Yeah. What was your experience, Gary?
Well, my son has a Tesla and he doesn't normally have full self-driving mode, but when they do an upgrade, they give you like a month for free. And we happen to be with him and driving in Atlanta traffic in full self-driving mode. And it's weird. I mean, it really is. But you know, that's a kind of a coming thing. We had, now he was in the driver's seat. I think Phoenix and that area is where there's a lot of these Waymo cars.
Yep.
And there's no driver in it. And so I've heard of people like, you know, they go into town and order a Waymo and the car comes and you get in it and you're just trusting the car to do what it's supposed to do. So it seems strange to me. I mean, it's got to be, I think it has to be perfected more before people are really going to be comfortable with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's
I think
interesting. I saw a program the other night. It really is a program. I don't know. It's kind of a reality TV show, but the gentleman is based over in the UK, and he's left his regular career long ago to become a farmer, and he went to a big machinery conference in the Netherlands, and saw a number of these AI operated farm equipment. And in order to keep up with technology and what he was doing in the UK, he bought a couple of these AI machines that plant seed, cultivate weeds, and cultivate the ground, all with, again, you know, obviously mapping and what have you, but all 24 hours a day, this thing will just run and give the farmer, I guess, time to just sit back and sit in his easy chair, which he was saying is not totally what he envisioned to be a farmer, but it really is affecting us in all kinds of ways. So I guess the first time one of those machines goes crazy and maybe cultivates the highway or something, I think, you know, we'll hear more about it. But yeah, I found it interesting just to look at that program. And of course, I think we're also entering the Jetsons, the full Jetsons stage. I did see that flying cars are becoming available. So what's next?
Well, if you didn't see our broadcast last Monday, please look up the recording, because we did a in-depth dive on AI, and the title of it was AI Larger Than the Industrial Revolution, and this is some of what we touched on. That it's the Industrial Revolution. I won't repeat the whole thing, obviously, but the Industrial Revolution, as we know, changed our whole world, changed our the way we work, changed our families, government, everything. And of course, it spanned a period of about 150 years. But AI is predicted to do the same thing, but only in a matter of a few years. So I think there's going to be more to come. And I don't know. Obviously, there's some, especially when it comes to driverless cars, there's some more corrections that need to be made to that. But I got a feeling it's going to be here to stay. So did you get in one yourself, Debbie?
No, my husband took the what is it called, a Waymo, or I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
In Arizona, and there was no driver. He was the only one in the car, so he videoed it from the back seat, the car driving itself, nobody in there. And I was like,
I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah.
Did they get out on an interstate? Do you know?
Well, I don't think it took the interstate, although it could have. It did on the main, like, other roads, with stoplights and stuff. It took that way. It didn't get on the interstate. But the statistic is that there are 7 times fewer crashes with the self-driving cars than regular drivers, like a normal human driver.
Really?
That's because they don't have iPhones, Debbie.
Yeah, right. And they're not playing the radio and who knows what, right? Talking to the kids in the back seat and
Putting on makeup, eating a sandwich. Yep, I know.
smoking a cigarette, right?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you know, when if you've got your wife along, you've got your little driver helper that you know, helps you drive. So
Helps you drive, helps you park, helps you
Yeah.
do a lot of different things. Yeah.
let you know when the lights turn from, you know, green
Yeah.
to red.
Well, I've
Free
got one. I've
coaching.
got a husband like that too. So let's not just pin it on the wives, okay? Co-pilot in general.
My little driver helper. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on. Susan, what's on your mind tonight?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so fifth generation warfare is on my mind.
Now
I don't
you're
know if I-
fading away a little bit volume wise. So
Let me turn it up a little bit. Does that help?
Yeah, give it
Does that
volume.
help?
That's fine.
yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Fifth generation warfare. I don't know if any of you have heard of Dr. Lee Merritt. She was the president of the American Surgeons Association for a while. She has experience in the military and with biological weapons. And she was explaining how we began fighting wars long ago with, you know, sticks and stones, basically. Then it you know, evolved into like the old time way of fighting with militaries, with soldiers. Then we moved on to like guerrilla warfare. Then more recently, like with Desert Storm, into like technical, more that type of warfare. And she explained that she evolved this theory years ago, and it was called fifth generation warfare. And that the current method of warfare that people don't really understand is that it's meant to look like nature, that people don't even really understand that they're being attacked. And that's basically what happened with COVID. And now I know that Tulsi Gabbard, as she was going out of office, she unveiled a lot of new documentation about Anthony Fauci and the gain of function stuff that we actually, our taxpayers, have been paying for, and that there were 140 biolabs around the world that were being used to develop research on these biological weapons. Some of them were in Ukraine. And when Russia went to war with Ukraine, they said that they weren't going to allow biological research for weapons on their borders. So these biological research labs were partly the reason that Russia went to war with Ukraine. And they were being funded by Anthony Fauci and that whole, you know, part of our government. So it's really kind of, you know, it's really concerning to me that certain parts of the government aren't under the oversight, really, of the Congress, of, you know, the president, basically. So I don't know how you all feel about this, but this is confirmed. This is not, you know, just speculation or conspiracy theories anymore. There's proof of it that's been released. And as a matter of fact, one of the women that answered to that charge years ago, 3 years ago, Victoria Newland, was in charge of the biological labs over there. And she said the last thing they wanted was for the Russians to get their hands on their research there. And so my concern is this: it's not just that this stuff's going on without us knowing, and, you know, there's no transparency. the point is, why are we developing diseases to use against anyone that could actually harm us too? Or, so I have to say, when the last election came up and I got a survey, it said, what is your biggest concern? I thought, my biggest concern is biological weapons, because I don't think people understand the danger. I mean, look at how many people were killed with COVID. And now we're tracing it back to biological weapons. I'm just floored by this. And so I think that's good that they're going to stop the research in these labs. And nobody should be using them in the world if at all possible. We should be just making some kind of an arrangement or agreement with all the nations in the world that we're not going to risk our health over that anymore.
Yeah.
That type of fighting.
That is really scary. That is really scary to think about that.
I mean, if I was looking at the statistics, and they said that 1 million people died of COVID. Now, if they had dropped a nuclear bomb and 1 million people had died, I think we'd be able to absorb that better than the way that things are happening now, where there's months or years where they're speculating if it came from a bat in a wet market, or, I mean, it's all the propaganda that goes along with it that people believe at first, and then by the time they find out the truth, it's long over with,
Yeah.
I don't think it's fun,
Yeah, I think there are like treaties against the use of biological weapons, but they're just routinely ignored. I mean, Fauci was funding that research being done in other countries to hide it, is what it appears. But it's being done anyway, and so it makes you. It's kind of when people in leadership become divorced from ethical and moral roots, then anything goes, and that's just a bad situation.
I don't understand. Where's all this documentation that's being brought forward? Where's this been? And don't people understand that documentation like this is being created? I don't understand. Evidently, it's believed that it can be hidden, I guess, or never brought to the surface. I don't understand how that happens. How people can figure that no one will ever know, no one will ever find out when this documentation is being created. I don't understand that.
It seems like this project, Anthony Fauci's oversight over all of this, has been going on for several administrations. He's been involved, and I think over time they've developed ways to keep things hidden, or when it gets close to being discovered, they move it to someplace else, and there's always denial, and it takes time to actually get proof. And of course now, with Tulsi Gabbard, she's gone out of office now, but she was definitely interested in finding that proof, and she found it. So it's there evidently, but as long as there is anyone in the government that's complicit, or maybe only knows, a lot of times these things are compartmentalized, where some of the agencies, they only know a little, they don't know all of it.
Yeah.
So it takes someone to really get in there and dig the truth out to find it.
That's where the deep state comes into play, is hiding this type of stuff.
Yeah. And we have to be vigilant, really.
Yeah.
To
Very good. All right, Susan. Well, I'm scared of getting into a driverless car, and now I'm worried about biological warfare. So, Gary, are you gonna calm us down a little bit here, or what?
Dale, I have a very happy topic. So, the United States began, and for about 100 years, we operated under largely free market capitalism. Starting around 1890, we got into regulatory capitalism, in which government regulation, beginning with the Interstate Commerce Commission, and now all of our capitalism in America is very highly regulated. But it seems like maybe we are evolving to another kind of generation of what I'll call national security capitalism. And so government has long been involved in, industrial policy, tariffs, export controls, domestic manufacturing mandates, things like that. But we seem to be moving under Donald Trump to a new level where national security is much more of a driver, and they're actually actively supporting or subsidizing or investing in industries related to semiconductors, rare earth metals, lithium production, defense infrastructure, energy, nuclear energy, as well as other kinds of strategic manufacturing and so forth. So we've kind of evolved, and it seems like we are moving toward a position where national security is used to justify a much larger role for government in industry. Now, we saw back after 9/11, they passed the Patriot Act, and the Patriot Act basically gave the state more power to surveil people, but that was done strictly by government. Now, if we truly are evolving into a situation where the government, through national security, using national security as a justification for subsidizing some industries and, in effect, punishing others, that's a different level than what we have been before. And for convention to states kind of people, this raises a lot of implications about our Constitution, which was set up with the idea we would have a limited government. And when you start using national security to justify doing things that the government probably shouldn't be doing, it's hard for courts to say, no, you can't do that, because national security has always been to excuse the term, trump card the government uses to get away with things that they couldn't otherwise do. And so I think it's something that bears watching. Is this going to grow larger under the remainder of the Trump administration, and will it carry over in subsequent years, or is it going to be scaled back? It definitely is something that I think, as convention of states perspective, we want limited government, and it's a little bit scary when government and business pair together, because that's really what National Socialism, fascism was, is the marriage of capitalism and government. And that's what, Italy and Germany had in many ways. And you really want to keep government and business separated. When they pair up together, businesses start making decisions not based on economic considerations, but based on what is pleasing to the government, what strengthens government. And so I just think it's kind of frightening. It's something that bears watching. And sorry, Dale, I was supposed to be a happy topic, but this is something that I think bears watching. And I think we all should be alert to the idea, when government starts using national security claims to do things that it really shouldn't be doing, then we have to be alert to that.
Actually, Gary, I'm thinking that with the movement of AI and how important AI is becoming to the government, seems to me that there could be a much more opportunities for government to be involved in business through AI. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, very true. In fact, I just read there was a court case where, using some kind of environmental regulations, they tried to shut down a big server farm used by Elon Musk's AI. And the government came in and said, hey, this has national security interests because the government is using this. And so, yeah, I mean, the government and the whole AI thing, what AI can do in terms of surveillance, you marry those two together, and the loss of privacy, it does have some frightening implications for.
It just seems like that there's a connection there that's inevitable. It seems to me.
Mhm.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Well, that did not turn out to be a real happy topic, Gary. But
Sorry, Dale.
started out on a happy note. But anyway, so Ken, are you going to lighten things up here at all?
Well, I'm going to start out a little bit on the sad side, but I'm going to try and bring it around to something a little bit more happy, a little more encouraging. And it's really gonna pick up where we had a regional director from Convention of States on last week that brought this up. Both of us kind of soccer fans, and I think my television watching has gone up quite a bit with the World Cup games coming on TV. But I have found it extremely interesting, and the media hasn't been able to avoid it because they certainly want to interview a lot of these people that are coming across the water to visit our happy land of America. And I'm going to start off on a little bit of a sad note, and that is since the Greatest Generation and World War II. Have Americans gone soft? Have Americans got spoiled? Are we really out of touch with all that this land has been blessed with? I think to a certain degree we've really gotten quite spoiled. When you talk to people about, obviously becoming a parent and you want things to be better for your kids, you want to improve, you want to make the world better for them and easier for them. And I'm afraid in a lot of situations we've made it too easy. We haven't let the experiences of life hit in enough ways to kind of challenge and have kids learn some things that really they need to learn. But I think my opinion is we've been spoiled here in America, and we don't see what it is we've been blessed with. And I have found it just amazingly interesting to listen to these interviews. People from all corners of the world that come here and say, wow, look at this. Look, I mean, it's everything from food to transportation to the stadiums. They're wowed by our stadiums. If you go to Davos, and you'll see a lot more of these games coming up in Dallas, it's the largest screen anywhere. I don't think there's a screen in a stadium anywhere that challenges the large overhead screen that hangs in the Dallas Stadium.
What I find interesting, I think, is that so many of these discoveries that people are finding is it's in the part of America that the media that you don't see in the media that much. It's not about. A lot of people may think that America is all about what they see in New York and what they see in LA through the media. What they don't see is everything, all the everything going on within America, and I find that very, very. I'm really happy to see that. Well, evidently, ranch dressing must be a real popular thing, from what I understand.
That's true. I think that's true about what is portrayed over there by the media, but I think also they get over here and get to actually experience it firsthand, experience the food, the walk through a grocery store. A lot of these
Right.
places don't have near what we have to offer. I know we can complain about the price of eggs and what have you, and the price of gas, but when these people come over here and talk about, I know I think I might have brought this up last week, but I found it really funny when a man from Scotland came on and he was talking about the fact that he won't drink a warm beer like they serve in Scotland. It's got to be ice cold like they serve here in America, and just some of the things that they find just to be just eye opening. So again, it gets back to the fact that we have a bunch of spoiled people that want to complain about everything, and nothing is right about America. And of course, again, this goes back to tearing down statues and changing things that they don't like, that have been part of America for years. But I think it also goes back to that people just, and again, this mixes in a little bit with our education. Our history isn't being taught the way it should be. These are things that I think we've really strayed from, and we are now bringing up another whole new generation of kids that are, what they're learning is their pronouns and how to color a rainbow. At this point, it's to the point where we really need to go back to, and I hope some of this comes about with the 250th celebration. But I'm worried about that because I think the other thing that I was going to bring up tonight, and I'll kind of segue to it a little bit, as maybe you can pick up on, but this whole thing where our monuments and our things in Washington D.C. are being vandalized right before the big celebration. We have algae being dumped into into the water to make it, to spoil things.
That's amazing, isn't it? Isn't that amazing?
I hope these people get the book thrown at them and the key thrown away, because it's just it's outright evil. And I guess that, the bottom line of all this is we are in that spiritual fight. It's evil versus good. And, there's a lot of good that we should be proud of here in America.
Yep. Yep. You talking about the monuments. I heard somebody report today on one of the news programs that he every day for years he went by this certain place and there was this monument there, and he didn't know until today that it actually had water coming out of it. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the monuments that I guess Trump got repaired so that water would flow out of it like it was intended to. And all these years, he didn't even know that the monument was capable of that. So he's just now seeing it. I think I just find that amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this thing with the reflecting pool. What is that sabotage? Has somebody sabotaged that, or?
They arrested two gentlemen. I shouldn't even use the word gentlemen. They arrested two. I don't want to use the word I want to use for these two guys, but they arrested two people that at 3 a.m. in the morning were dumping this stuff into the reflection pool, and And it, the sadder part about that is we've got a group of people in this country that are celebrating that. They want to see that they want to see that success torn down before it even becomes a success. So, I
don't know.
Yeah, it seems like we need to restore again the idea that America is good. This is a good country, and schools seem to be teaching people, America's bad, and that is, you cannot maintain your culture and your country if people do not have a belief in the the good things about your country, that it is a good place and good people and so forth. And they're trying to destroy America, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. Go ahead, Susan. Or go ahead, Debbie. No, go ahead, Debbie.
Well, I was just going to say, I feel like when Common Core came in from Obama, that came with it. Was that we're a bad nation, we're a bad country, we've done this wrong, we've done that wrong. And he was apologizing, remember, to all the nations of the world. And it got into our curriculum in our schools, and then it started getting taught that way. And so now 10 years, 20 years later, we've got those kids are now young adults, and they bought into it, and they don't know anything, but they think they do.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Ken?
No, I kind of lost track. I was going somewhere along the same line. I was thinking,
sorry.
no, it's all right. I think well, I'm hearing all the criticism right now about the Obama. I don't think can you still call it a library? That awful looking building that put up in Chicago, and just I was hearing some of the speeches that were around that opening day of that, and when you look at all the things that the country gets torn down for, I mean, again, I don't think any of us are trying to say that it's a perfect country or a perfect history, in no way. But I just don't think people realize how far we've come. And when you look at unfortunately some of the things that continue with racism and what have you, the good seems to have been whitewashed from any type of learning situations. And I think one of the comments I heard was, I think Michelle Obama said, you're not going to hear him come on and pump up his ego about all his accomplishments, she said. And I'm not saying he didn't accomplish some things, but for the most part, I think most people are seeing what's coming out now is he laid down some things in the land that have not been good for America, and are certainly really more put out there for the degradation of America.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of degradation and how our youth are being taught, I'm going to wrap things up here on a different topic than I was intending to talk about. So, were you finished, Ken? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I probably went on too long. I should have just bowed out when Debbie said it was wanted to speak there. So, no problem. Well,
this is again an event that's coming up here in our community. I think it's coming up. I don't think we've already had it, but it's a festival that occurs downtown in our community, and in a certain block, where they celebrate every year, and it's a family affair, and every year they have a drag queen show, and they're planning on doing it again this year, and of course there were residents that went before the city council asking that this not be allowed, and they lost. And as a matter of fact, I think the city council would have agreed with them. However, technically, they were not violating a law, any law or any whatever local law in any way. So it's going to go on, and what we have on COS today, we have had many guests and conducted many interviews on this topic this has been over the past years, on transgenderism, on dysphoria, and we've talked about this. And one of the lessons that I was reminded of, that I think came out of all these interviews, is that
this stuff, the drag queens doing this at a family-oriented event where there will be children, it's the children that they're after. It's the children that are the target.
That's right.
When you stop and think about it now, here, these little kids are watching these men dressed as women. And of course, they're, you know, the show that they put on is limited to because it's family. But these kids are learning that this is okay. And because I'm here with mommy and daddy, and they're enjoying this, and they're letting me see this, so that's the purpose of this, in my opinion. They're the target of the drag queens, and we can talk about this more again some other time. But what do you all think about that? Do you have any events like that going on in your communities, Debbie and Susan?
I can think of the well, there was like a problem over them reading at the libraries for young children.
Right.
Reading stories, but yet the libraries would turn away someone like Kirk Cameron, who was a celebrity, trying to come in and read to children wholesome books.
Right.
And I think that that's a good example right there of the problem we're facing with. It's really grooming young children to normalize that for them.
I think it is. I think that's the whole purpose of it. I mean, we have other places here in town where they have these shows, but it's for adults only. It's controlled for adults. But here you've got families, you've got young kids attending this, and I know it's not the same show that you would see it at one of the adult places, but it's still it's indoctrinating those kids, and I think I hope someday we can put a stop to this. If the adults, if they want to have their thing, that's fine. But this is not during this family-oriented type event. So anyway, that's it, folks. We got to wrap up this segment. We've gone a little bit over time. So Ken, any viewer comments that we need to entertain?
Not so far. No.
Okay. Debbie, Susan, Gary, thank you very much for coming on tonight,
Thank you.
and hope to see you again very soon. Good night. Thanks.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
All right, Ken. Well, let's move on to our next segment here, and that is going to be, I believe, we have a John Ackerman has gotten back on his soapbox, and John does a good job on this. This is about responsibility, if I got it right here, I think. So let's listen to what John has to say for us this evening.
All right.
John Ackerman for Convention of States. The COS application has been approved by 20 states. We simply must get to that magic number of 34 states so we can have the long-awaited convention to propose amendments to the Constitution. Success is often determined not by talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but by a willingness to take responsibility. 3 simple statements capture this truth. If it's everybody's job, it's nobody's job. If not now, when? If not you, who? Together, these words challenge us to stop waiting for others, stop making excuses, and start taking action. The first statement, if it's everybody's job, it's nobody's job, reminds us that responsibility cannot be delegated to an anonymous crowd. In families, workplaces, churches, schools, and communities, important tasks are often overlooked because everyone assumes that someone else will handle it. A piece of trash remains on the floor because everyone walks past it. A problem remains unsolved because everyone expects someone else to step forward. Real progress begins when an individual says, "I'll do it." The second statement, "If not now, when?" comes from the ancient Jewish sage Hillel the Elder, who confronts the temptation to procrastinate. We humans are experts at finding reasons to delay action. We tell ourselves that tomorrow will be better than today, that conditions will improve, or that we'll be better prepared later. Yet tomorrow has a way of becoming next week, next month, next year. Opportunities are often lost not because we lacked ability, but because we waited too long. The best time to begin is rarely when everything is perfect. The best time is usually right now. The third statement, "If not you, who?" calls us to personal responsibility. It's easy to admire leaders while assuming they possess some special quality that we don't. In reality, many of history's most influential people were ordinary individuals who simply chose to act when others hesitated. They saw a need and filled it. They recognized a problem and solved it. They understood that someone had to step forward, and they decided that that someone would be them. These three ideas reinforce one another. Taking responsibility means refusing to assume that someone else will do the work. Acting now means refusing to postpone what needs to be done. And accepting responsibility and personal accountability means recognizing that each one of us has the power to make a difference. Imagine what would happen if more people lived by these principles. Communities would become stronger, workplaces would become more productive, families would become more supportive, problems that seem overwhelming would begin to shrink because individuals would stop waiting and start acting. Every day presents opportunities to practice this mindset. A neighbor needs help. A project needs a leader. A friendship needs encouragement. A wrong needs righted. In each situation, the same questions arise. If not now, when? And if not you, who? The people who change the world are rarely those who wait for perfect circumstances. They are the ones who accept responsibility, take initiative, and act. Their example reminds us that meaningful change begins with a single decision, the decision to step forward when everyone else is standing still. So when you see a need, don't assume someone else will take care of it. When an opportunity appears, don't postpone action until a more convenient time. And when a challenge demands leadership, don't underestimate your ability to make a difference. What can you do to help COS reach its goal of 34 states? Remember, if it's everybody's job, it's nobody's job. If not now, when? And if not you, who?
Another good one.
from John. Yeah. John does a good job on those, doesn't he?
Yeah, I really enjoy those. Yep.
Yep. Good job. Well, let's move on, Ken. Caught up with Larry Hudson here recently, and we recorded the final episode of Meet the Founders, Sam Adams. So got a hold of Larry, and this is number 6. This will be the final one. I think he's undecided. Matter of fact, I think we talk about this a little bit on the recording. He's trying to decide whether to do John Adams or John Hancock on the next one. So I'm trying to steer him toward John Hancock as the next one, but I'll let him make that decision. But anyway, here's my interview with Larry Hudson on Meet the Founders, Sam Adams, part number 6. Greetings, everyone. Dale Parrish again, host COS Today. Tonight, we're going to do the final episode. This is number 6 with Larry Hudson on Sam Adams, one of our Meet the Founders series. So let's get right into it, and let me bring on Larry, and we'll get with it right now. Hi, Larry.
How are you doing, Dale? Good to see you.
Yeah. I like that ball cap you have.
It's my Second Amendment ball cap with States.
Second Amendment ball cap. That's good. That's good. I like that. Well, Larry, we're down to episode number 6 here on Sam Adams, and you're telling me you think this is going to be the final one. It's been a good series. We've learned every one of your Meet the Founders series has been excellent, I think, and certainly a learning experience for me, and I think for our viewers too. So, Larry, let's get started. Let's pick it up where we left off last time. If I remember right, the Battle of Bunker Hill proved to be a costly victory for the British, and one that brought the colonies fully into the war. Adams is now serving in the Second Continental Congress, where he was instrumental in getting the Declaration of Independence passed and was a principal contributor in drafting the Articles of Confederation. So if I got it right here, where do we go from here now?
You do. I think, Dale, looking at my notes here. Adams, during the war, he continues as a delegate, as you mentioned, to the Second Continental Congress. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole right away, but I think this is interesting. We all know the First Continental Congress. Now we're in the Second Continental Congress. Was there a Third Continental Congress and a fourth and a fifth, or what happened? I've always wondered about those so-called Continental Congresses.
Yeah.
So it turns out that there were 3 Continental Congresses. They weren't all called that, but there were 3 that together, I guess, guided the colonies from 1774 was the First Continental Congress through, almost 13 years of combat and getting a new government. So the First Continental Congress, as I said, only lasted, I think, September and October, so like 6 weeks. And during that short period of time, the Congress adopted the Suffolk Resolves, which we discussed that last time.
Right.
They started working on a plan of the Union, which ultimately is going to lead to the Articles of Confederation. They produced a document that we called the Declaration of Rights and Grievances, and that was sent to the king, and he largely ignored it, George III. And then we get to the Second Continental Congress, the one Adams is presently serving in. It convened, I think, in May of 75, shortly after Lexington and Concord, actually. And it continued for 6 years, the Second Continental Congress, until 1781, when the war ended at Yorktown. And during that period of time, we've already covered it basically adopted the Continental Army, appointed George Washington as its commander. It adopted the Declaration of Independence, published it. And it was also this Congress that Adams is going to play a significant role in drafting the Articles of Confederation. And they were finally adopted, I think, in 77. So you could say that it functioned as the national government during the Revolutionary War period,
Yeah,
the First and Second Continental Congresses.
that's interesting. I wasn't aware of that. That's interesting. So those were the first two Continental Congresses. like you said, what about the third Congress? What was it called, and when did it come into being?
Well, a fair question. Following ratification of the Articles of Confederation, which took 4 years to accomplish that, by the way, the newly established Congress of the Confederation, or the Confederation Congress, as it was commonly called, not the Second Continental Congress. Now we've got the Confederation Congress, and it operated for 8 years, from 1781, which was the end of hostilities. Well, almost. We didn't have a peace treaty until 1783 in the Revolutionary War, but from that point until 1789, it acted as the first federal government of the now United States. And so it guided our country immediately after the war, you could say, managed our foreign affairs, coordinated among the states. And actually, it was in activation until we got a U.S. Constitution that replaced it in 1789. And
So this third Congress
I'm sorry?
basically served as the administration of the country.
Right. After the war, until we got a new Constitution
Right.
in 1789. And at that point, we started calling those Congresses annually, first, second, third, and so forth.
Okay.
It began, I think, in March. Now we're in the 119th Congress,
Oh,
which
okay. Okay.
began in January last year.
Oh, all right. All right. Got it. Okay. 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 So you say it took 4 years to ratify the Articles of Confederation. Why do you think? Why did it take so long? Do you think?
Well, think about the Articles of Confederation. You know, we didn't like the Articles of Confederation for a number
Right.
of reasons. They were sent to the individual states for ratification, I think, in 1777. It took about a year to get them out of the Congress to the states now to be ratified. There had been bickering between the states, which delayed ratification for almost 4 years. Now, remember, the Articles of Confederation required all 13 states to ratify them. Okay, 100% ratification. I think it was Maryland, if my memory serves. Yeah, Maryland was the 13th state to ratify the Articles in the spring of 81. Our country was guided by those Articles until the new Constitution was adopted, as you know, in September of 1787. And
Right.
2 years it took to ratify that Constitution I think it was 1789. So here, the new Constitution, though, only required 3/4 of the states, 9 of the 13 states for ratification. So it took a little less time for that ratification process. So the new government officially began operation in 1789. And who was the 13th state? Rhode Island. Rhode Island was the 13th state, which was the last to ratify in 1790. So about a year after it had gone into effect.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, what is Sam Adams up to now? He is a delegate to the Second Continental Congress, and America's 13 colonies are now at war with Great Britain.
Correct.
So what's he up to now?
Well, the war is going to take, 6 long years. And so in the middle, I think it was 1777 or thereabouts, Congress reconvenes, and he takes a 2-month break, as I recall, and returns to Boston, where he found his home, like a lot of founders, found his home largely destroyed. All the furnishings had been taken, I guess, and it forced him to move to a nearby town called Dedham. And he returned to Congress. He sat on the head of several committees. Probably the biggest one was the War Board. He was the head of the War Board during a good portion of the Revolutionary War. He was on the medical committee. He was on a committee for procuring cannon and armaments. And he was on a committee of foreign intelligence. So very active in Congress. He advocated, I remember, paying bonuses to soldiers to encourage them to re-enlist. In fact, he worked with Washington back and forth because of the poor numbers that Washington was dealing with in trying to carry on his offensive operations. And interestingly, but not surprisingly to me at least, he pushed for harsh state legislation to punish loyalists. He was a patriot first and foremost, and he didn't suffer loyalists lightly. In fact, I remember reading the country was divided. We talked about this, I think, maybe back when we were talking about Washington. At the early onset of the war, the country was divided, we estimate, into thirds. A third were rebels, or what we eventually called patriots. A third were loyalists, or what we called Tories. And then there were a third that were just kind of fence sitters. They really hadn't taken a position, unable to make up their minds, if you will. And I read in my latest book here on Adams that there was a time where more than 300 loyalists were actually banished from the state of Massachusetts, and their property was confiscated, and they had to actually leave the state. That's how rancorous it became. And you will remember, I think, when we talked about some of the battles in the Revolutionary War, there was a battle. There were more loyalists in the southern states than there were in the northern states. There was a battle, I think it was called Kings Mountain in North Carolina, South Carolina border, where the two opposing forces were totally American.
Yeah, I think I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
Loyalists on the other, the loyalists were headed by a British officer, but they were basically Americans killing Americans in that battle. But to get back to Adams, he's going to find himself, I think he called it ill-adapted to the affairs of government. He's tired. He's grown to be somewhat of a contrarian on a lot of issues, rigid, kind of uncompromising. He's tired. He needs a rest. I read one author who wrote, like others at the time, Adams considered himself a citizen of the United States, but he continued to refer to Massachusetts as his country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds like he's getting old here.
He is. You're right. Yeah.
So, okay, Adams is tired, doesn't find much to his liking in the Congress. Does he continue to serve there? I see in your outline here that he, like you said, he returns to Massachusetts, gets into politics at the state level. So how does that happen, and what does he accomplish at the state level?
Well, yes, he does continue to serve in Congress, at least during the 4 years, until his, both his health and his love for his home state and the fact that he's just kind of disinterested draws him away. He returned to Boston during the war years, I think in late 1770s. I can't remember the date, but he wanted to go to a state constitutional convention. A new constitution had been proposed for the state, but had been rejected, I think, by the voters. And so they called a convention, much like what we would call an Article 5 convention today in our current constitution. And that convention was to try again to draft a constitution. And he attended that convention along with his cousin John, and I think a man named Bowdoin, I think his name was. He was president of the convention, and the three of them sat down together and drafted a Massachusetts Constitution, which ultimately was amended somewhat by the convention, but it was approved by the voters about a year later. So he had his hand very instrumentally involved in drafting the Massachusetts Constitution. It established a Republican government, small r, a representative government, just like we have today. That was his big belief in direct representation, hence the term Republican. But by today's standards, I think we would have to say it wasn't democratic, in that Adams, like I think most of his peers at the time, he believed that only free males, black or white, but free males who own property should be allowed to vote. And that got into the Constitution, and that remained in that Constitution until it was eventually amended, I don't know, 40 years later, something like that.
Really? Okay. Well, I see that in your notes here that Adams eventually seeks public office in his home state.
Yeah.
What elected positions did he hold there?
Well, I think it was in 81, so this would be after the victory at Yorktown. He retires from the Second Continental Congress. He's almost 60. He started suffering from tremors that made writing somewhat difficult. I don't know if that was some sort of palsy or perhaps what we might call Parkinson's today. But he's tired and he wants to go home, and he's gone home now. He's retired from the Congress. So he went back to Massachusetts and he got involved in politics in the Commonwealth. He went to Dedham, and I don't think he probably leaves Massachusetts again for the rest of his life. He was elected to the Senate in Massachusetts, served as its president for 2 consecutive years. You might remember that it was 1787, that delegates met in Philadelphia at a state convention, another Article 5, if you will, where they opted to craft the Constitution to replace those Articles of Confederation that Adams had been the primary author of. Now, he was not a delegate to the convention, the Constitutional Convention, and when the Constitution was sent to the states for ratification, he was not pleased. He expressed extreme dislike for what he saw being written. In fact, he wrote to a confidant, I should say, I confess, as I enter this building, I stumble at the threshold. I meet with a national government instead of a federal union of the states that he desired. So he soon became one of those, derisively labeled anti-federalists, as opposed to those who favored the new Constitution, who, as we all know, were called Federalists.
So Adams was not in favor of this newly drafted Constitution, and like you said, was considered an anti-federalist. Why was he not in favor of it, and did he fight against it when it came to his state for ratification?
Well, no, as it turns out, no, he didn't fight against it. He was elected to the ratifying convention in Massachusetts, but despite his reservations, he finally did agree to give it his support, but it was with a proviso that amendments be forthcoming after it was passed. And those, there were 3 things that I remember in my mind that he was insistent upon. He wanted freedom of the press to be addressed, the right to keep and bear arms to be addressed, and he wanted an end to the slave trade to be added to the Constitution.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Even with his support, though, the convention narrowly ratified. I think it had 20 votes or so, gave him ratification of the Constitution. I did add one thing. we really haven't discussed his family much, but on a sad note, he did have one son. I think I mentioned that early on. His son was named Sam Jr. While Adams was in the ratification convention, his son died at 37. He'd been a surgeon in the Revolutionary War. He was a doctor, but he'd fallen ill and just never recovered. I don't know. I heard tuberculosis or read tuberculosis was the probable cause in one book. It was a lung disease of some sort, but nevertheless, it was a stunning blow to Sam. But some years later, he decided to get to re-enter national politics, and he ran for a seat in the House of Representatives. But he was soundly defeated. And perhaps surprisingly, the next year he was back still in the state there in Massachusetts, and he was elected to be the lieutenant governor of the state. And he served in that office for 4 years until the governor, John Hancock, who we've talked about previously, died. And so Adams became the acting governor. And eventually, and not surprisingly, the next year, he was elected as governor in his own right, and he would be reelected for 3 successive terms or times.
Really?
Both were 1-year terms. Don't confuse them with what we have today, perhaps like in our various states. But
so he was in his mid to late 70s when he got elected as governor. I would guess here, right?
Yeah, well, he declined to run for re-election after his 3rd term, and so he retired from politics, and he was 75 years old at that point in time. So it wasn't long after that he suffered another tremor, whatever that tremor was, and this time it rendered him completely unable to write, actually for the remainder of his life, and he wound up dying at the age of 81 in 1803, and that would be during Thomas Jefferson's first term as president. So Adams is, I think, remembered as one of the most influential founding fathers that we have, particularly early on in the early stages of our founding era. He was a key organizer of colonial resistance. He was like a kind of a mob boss, I don't know, a union boss, I guess, would be a better description. He was a signer of the Declaration of Independence, primary drafter of the Articles of Confederation, defender of the rights of the people his entire life. He's obviously instrumental in laying the foundation for our democracy, and wrote
most definitely. This man played a major role in the founding of our country. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson. I've got a quote here from Jefferson. He wrote a letter to Adams, and he said in it, quote, "Your principles have been tested in the crucible of time and have come out pure." And then he went on to say that he felt more affection in this letter for Adams than for any other patriot that he knew. And so I thought I would just kind of end it like this, Dale.
Yeah.
There is one quote from Adams that I think sums up his work as a founding father. It would go like this. This is Adams, pure Adams. Quote, "If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude than the animated contest of freedom, then go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsel or your arms. Just crouch down and lick his hands which feed you. Make your chains sit lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen."
Okay. All right.
That's Adams.
We'll wrap it up right there, Larry. Okay. So Larry, thank you very much. This has been another terrific one. And you're telling me now am I correct that you're kind of considering your next one being possibly John Adams or maybe John Hancock, right?
Yeah, I've got. By the way, this latest book I read on Adams by Stacy Schiff. It's a great read. She's quite an author, and she's written on a variety of subjects. I won't go into it, but if you're interested in Sam Adams, it's a good read. I'm reading a book on Hancock, and later on, I know we'll want to cover Alexander Hamilton. Chernoff has got a good book on Hamilton.
Okay.
And, I'm reading one on John Adams right now too, and I can't give you the author. I've got a mental blank. But
All right.
anyway,
Well,
one of those three, one of those two. I think Adams. I really like to cover Paul Revere too, because Paul Revere was really instrumental. He was not only a silversmith, but he was a spy, courier, a real patriot.
Well, we'll work that one in too.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward to another episode from you in July. Okay.
You bet. Yeah.
All right, Larry. Thank you very much, bud. Thank you.
You bet.
Well, that's a wrap up for with Larry Hudson and Meet the Founders, Sam Adams. Hope you've enjoyed this episode, this series on Sam Adams. I have, certainly. I enjoy all of Larry's episodes. So that'll be it for tonight. And thank you for joining in, and look forward to being back with you in July. Have a good evening. Yeah, Larry does a good job on these Meet the Founders.
Yeah, we had our guest tonight, Susan. She posted a comment I found interesting. She said, Hancock is the reason why we should make sure school kids continue to learn to read and write cursive.
Cursive. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm going to try to encourage him to do John Hancock next. But I think Paul Revere's an interesting fellow too.
I would look forward to that one for sure.
Not a founder, but we need to work him in some way or another. But,
yeah.
Anyway, well, okay, let's move on. Ken, I recorded a little presentation on Iran and the different factions that we have to deal with in Iran. I should have probably played this some weeks ago, before the Iran thing going on now with Iran, but I didn't get around to it. So I want to go ahead and play this tonight, and hopefully it'll be somewhat educational to all of us. So let me bring it on up here.
All right.
If you're like me, you've been following the situation in Iran with our country for some time now. And I have heard it said many times, and I do believe that certainly ultimately the people of Iran need to reform their government, need to take over, need to voice their opinion, need to get involved, and so forth and so on. And while it all sounds very good, and I agree with all of that, I really didn't know much about the makeup of Iran and the makeup of the population of Iran. So I thought I would delve into this a bit, and hopefully maybe this will be be helpful to you. It certainly was to me, and it's not as clear cut as you might think it is, and it's very, very difficult, quite honestly. But I've put together a little PowerPoint, and let me bring it up, and we'll just get started in talking about is there a possibility of a regime change in Iran? And let's look at the different factions involved in Iran. Okay, let me bring up my PowerPoint. And what I'm going to do here is examine the major internal factions. And factions is a key term here because, you know, our country's made up of factions, and there were factions in our country when we were founded. So that's a common thing. But
There are major internal factions within Iran that could influence a future regime change scenario. Iran is often viewed from the outside as a unified Islamic state, but internally, it is deeply divided by ethnicity, religion, ideology, generation, and economics. All right, let's move on then. Why Iran is so difficult to govern? Well, Iran contains numerous ethnic and political divisions. Persians remain the dominant population, but major minorities, and I'm going to struggle with pronouncing these terms, so bear with me, but major minorities include the Azeris and the Baluchis. Now, historically, strong centralized authority has often emerged in Iran because leaders feared fragmentation and instability. Well, the supreme leader system, we're familiar with that very much. Following the 1979 Islamic Revolution, Iran established a system centered around the supreme leader. This office controls the military, judiciary, intelligence services, and major policy decisions. The system was intentionally designed to preserve ideological control and prevent counter-revolution. Well, here's the major player here, the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, has evolved into the most powerful institution in Iran. It controls military assets, intelligence operations, economic networks, and internal security. Many analysts believe the IRGC would determine the outcome of any regime crisis. Now, we're going to come back to the IRGC here as we conclude here, but this is probably the strongest faction in Iran right now. Now, let's talk about some of the different factions. Urban reformists and the youth. Many younger Iranians are frustrated by economic hardship, censorship, social restrictions. Urban populations increasingly use technology and outside media to bypass state control. However, opposition groups remain divided regarding what should replace the current system. Here's a good women. Women protest the movement. The death of Masha Amini. Sorry, I know I'm struggling on these words. Masha Amini. The death of him triggered a major protest movement centered around women's rights and personal freedoms. The slogan, "Women, Life, Freedom," became internationally recognized. Women emerged as visible leaders, though the movement lacked centralized organization. Well, let's move on then to ethnic groups. Iran's ethnic minorities could play a major role in instability. Kurdish regions have historically resisted central authority. Baluchi populations face poverty and discrimination. Arab populations live in strategic oil-producing areas. Azeris are generally more integrated but maintain strong cultural identity. Monarchists and exile groups.
Some opposition groups favor restoring a monarchy tied to the former Shah's family. Reza Pahlavi, again, I'm struggling with these names. Reza Pahlavi remains a visible opposition figure abroad. However, Iran's exile opposition remains deeply fragmented and lacks unified leadership. So, could Iran become self-governing? Iran's fragmentation raises difficult questions about long-term self-governance. The current regime often argues that strong, centralized authority prevents civil war and outside interference. Critics argue the regime itself fuels instability through repression. Okay, future scenarios. Well, possible future scenarios include reform, military-led transition, democratic experimentations, or internal fragmentation. Many analysts fear that sudden collapse without a replacement structure could create Syria-style instability. So what are we to conclude here? Iran's future remains uncertain. While many Iranians oppose the current regime, there is no unified vision of what should come next. The central strategic question is whether Iran could transition toward a stable, self-governing system without descending into chaos. So I think what we're seeing here is, like we said earlier, I think the IRGC is going to be the key, unfortunately. I mean, I think because of all the fragmentation and the different factions, I think the IRGC is going to be the key party that determines the future of Iran, or the near future. So I think that's the group that's going to have to, that we're going to have to defeat. And I think because they control all the weapons, and I think that's going to be where this is going to have to take us. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit about the makeup of Iran. I know I feel a little more knowledgeable of what's going on there. So let's just pray that it turns out okay. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
A good report. Very complicated situation. Very complicated.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that there were that many factions involved.
Yeah.
But of course, as it turns out, the IRGC is in fact the key party, and that's who we're having to deal with.
Yeah.
In these negotiations. So we'll see what happens. See what happens. Well, Ken, I got one more presentation I want to present to everybody tonight. This is a topic, I think I mentioned this in last week, on last week's program. Child trafficking in this country is a terrible problem. And it's been around for a long time. But our last administration certainly contributed a great deal to this problem. So it's called Americans' Hidden Crisis. And so I won't get into it any further right now. I'll let my presentation do the talking on it. So let's jump right into it, okay?
Yep.
Greetings, everyone. Dale Parrish, host, COS Today. America's Hidden Crisis. Let's get right to it.
tonight we're going to be discussing a topic that is difficult to hear, difficult to discuss, and impossible to ignore. Child trafficking is not just a problem overseas. It is happening right here in America. Recent reports have raised serious questions about tens of thousands of unaccompanied migrant children who entered the United States and later could not be readily located by federal authorities. Tonight, we'll look at what is happening, why it is happening, what it means, and what should be done about it. What is child trafficking? Well, when many people hear the term child trafficking, they immediately think of kidnapping. While kidnapping can occur, trafficking is usually much more complicated. Traffickers often use deception, manipulation, threats, debt, or dependency to control victims. Children may be exploited for labor, sex, criminal activity, or other forms of abuse. Many victims are never physically restrained. Instead, they are psychologically controlled. How big is the problem? Well, one of the most troubling aspects of trafficking is that we do not know the full size of the problem. Law enforcement agencies conduct thousands of investigations every year. Victims have been identified in every state. Experts consistently warn that trafficking is significantly underreported, meaning the actual number of victims is likely much higher than official statistics indicate. That's alarming, isn't it? The unaccompanied migrant child. A major concern in recent years involves unaccompanied migrant children. Crossing the border, federal agencies were tasked with placing these children with sponsors throughout the country. Questions later emerged regarding sponsor verification, follow-up procedures, and whether all children could be accounted for. Congressional investigations and Inspector General reports have raised concerns about the government's ability to track the long-term well-being of these children. Why is it happening? Well, trafficking exists because there is demand. Criminal organizations profit enormously from exploitation. Children who are alone, vulnerable, poor, or separated from family become prime targets. When enforcement systems fail or become overwhelmed, traffickers exploit those weaknesses. Why are children especially vulnerable here? Well, children have fewer resources available to protect themselves. Many do not speak English. Many have no family nearby. Many fear deportation, authorities, or retaliation. These factors make children easier for traffickers to manipulate and control. So what does this mean for America? Well, beyond the individual victims, trafficking affects the entire nation. Communities face increased criminal activity. Taxpayers bear costs associated with enforcement and victim services. Most importantly, public confidence suffers when citizens believe children are being placed at risk without adequate safeguards. So what have investigations found? Well, investigations have identified weaknesses in record keeping, follow-up procedures, and communication between agencies. These findings have fueled calls for stronger accountability and improved monitoring of at-risk children. The debate continues regarding responsibility and how these problems should be corrected. What should be done? Well, regardless of political affiliation, most Americans agree that protecting children should be a national priority. Better screening, better tracking, stronger enforcement, and better support for victims are common recommendations. The goal should be prevention, protection, and accountability. Here's some questions every American should ask. These are not partisan questions. They are questions of responsibility. If children entered government custody or government supervision, Americans have every right to ask whether those children were adequately protected. Those questions deserve clear answers. What's the conclusion here? Well, child trafficking is one of the darkest forms of exploitation in our society. While reasonable people may disagree about immigration policy, border policy, or government programs, we should all agree on one principle: children deserve protection. The challenge before America is ensuring that every child entrusted to our care is safe, accounted for, and protected from those who would exploit them. So thank you for joining me this evening. And I hope that you will join us in the future here, because on July 13th, I think we're going to designate or devote, I should say, the COS Perspective segment to this topic. And we will delve into this even deeper than what we have done here in this brief presentation. So hope you've enjoyed this. Hope it was educational for you. And once again, be sure to tune back in on July 13th for the COS Perspective segment on America's Hidden Crisis. Thank you very much.
A good report, Dale. Unfortunately, it's a very sad subject, and
Yeah.
like you said, it's been going on for decades.
You know, I tell you, Ken, we've probably all heard these numbers before, but and like I pointed out in this presentation, this has been going on for decades. This is not a brand new problem, but the last administration, the first number I heard was they let something like 300,000 kids in, and they lost track of them, and they didn't vet the sponsors. I think a recent report was here recently that they claim to have found 146,000 of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that means the rest of them they still can't find them. But other sources are saying the problem is not 300,000, it's more like 500,000. So it's unbelievable. And like I said, I think our COS Perspective segment coming up on the 13th, I think we'll make this the topic for that perspective, and we'll delve into it even deeper on this. So it's a sad topic, but it's happening. It's happening.
Well, it's especially sad because whether people want to admit it or not, a lot of people might call it conspiracy and everything else, but there are people in our federal government that are part of this.
Yes. Yes.
And there's certainly, I mean, outside of probably the money involved, Dale, it's a disease, it's a sickness, and it's a sin. And
Well,
unfortunately, go
and
ahead.
you got to recognize there's a demand for it.
Yeah, and that again, it's that not only is it facilitated by some in the government, but then you've got this sickness, this disease, and as again, I won't mince words. This sin amongst people, not just men. I think there's women involved as well, but probably predominantly it's men that have this sin problem. And it's the worst. It's the worst thing that can that you can get involved in, I think, as a man. And you know, it's mentioned how in times that we live, these things are going on, and again, continued fight between good and evil.
Well, we'll get into it more on the July 13th, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Well, on a little lighter note, let's
we need a little lighter one after that. Yes.
Let's let David Punt give us his Dave's daily dose here on the Obama. Do I call it the Obama library, or it's not?
I
really
hesitate to call it the library, but you know, I've seen references to this thing being called everything from, you know, the latest alien space station to I don't know. I don't want to get into anything else that I might get in trouble for. So, all right. Let's hear what Dave's got. I have not listened to the entire Dave's Daily Dose here, so I'm anxious to see what he's going to say. All right.
Wikipedia is a bit circumspect on the topic of where Barack Obama's private papers will be kept. NPR admitted yesterday that it won't be in Chicago. That's why the building is called the Obama Presidential Center and doesn't include the word library. Yes, there is a library on the ground there in South Shore, but it's a branch of the Chicago Library. No Obama papers there either. Why would someone want his presidential papers hidden off campus, you ask? A short tap dance through Obama history and some conspiracy theories suggests some answers. This is Dave's Daily Dose on BrokenRoadRadio.com. I'm David Allen Punt. NPR celebrated the Hope and Change Guy's big day. Reporter Tamara Keith remarked that it was like the last 10 years had never happened. President Trump was not invited to join the former Oval Office occupiers, Bush, Clinton, Biden, and the honoree. Why? Obama Foundation CEO Valerie Jarrett said the event focused on welcoming supporters of former President Obama. It might have been about the crack years ago about the birth certificate, but there's more there. Things that a clever historical researcher might dig up someday, if he could just get a look at those papers. No doubt buried in the stacks are all sorts of references to the beginnings of the Russia hoax and the FISA court manipulations. Obama was up to his scrawny neck in planning and plotting along with Bobby Mueller, Jimmy Clapper, and Johnny Brennan to stop Trump from winning the presidency and causing him all sorts of grief once he got in office. Hillary's campaign paid for the Steele dossier, and she put together her secret email service, but Obama's fingerprints were all over both of them. There was even a last-minute meeting between Jarrett, Obama, and probably the CIA and FBI guys at 5 minutes to noon on the day of Trump's inauguration. And then there's Uncle Joe. No way Obama and his cronies didn't know about Joe's condition, or at least the early stages of it. Somehow they got him elected. And I bet dollars to donuts there's lots of private Obama papers outlining that little plot. Or perhaps an entry in the Obama diary, moaning and groaning about how Joe's condition has gotten so much worse, he won't even take direct orders on how to run the country. We're going to have to use the auto pen instead. Presidential libraries have contained presidential papers cherished by all presidents, dating back to Herbert Hoover. True, the Clinton Library in Hot Tub in Little Rock doesn't have a Monica exhibit. Would a genuine Obama library include one devoted to the third term? Or plans to have a Chicago anti-Trump college student burn a cross on a nearby lawn? We'll never know. I'm David Allen Punt.
I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know. That's very good. Very good. I wasn't aware of that as far as his presidential papers and stuff. That's
Interesting.
I'm curious as to why that has not come up as a topic in the media.
Well, you really do know, Dale. You just at this point can't believe it that something like this would be non-interesting to the mainstream media.
Well, I would expect that it would should be something that right-wing media would point out.
Pick up on, yeah.
Okay, all right, Ken. Let's start wrapping up this evening then. And first of all, let's. That's not what I wanted to say. This is what I wanted to say. If you want to look for us, the best way to find us is on YouTube. Our YouTube channel, American Patriots for Convention of States. And that's where you will find the current broadcast as well as any past broadcasts. So YouTube, American Patriots for Convention of States. And I think you're going to put the link up there, right, Ken?
I sure will.
All right, good. If you have any questions about or comments about tonight's broadcast, feel free to drop us an email at raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. That's how you can drop us a line on how we're doing. So before we let Maringo Mike close us out here, Ken, any comments from viewers that we need to?
No, I think we covered everything so thoroughly tonight that we really didn't have any extra comments.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, thank you for tuning in this evening. Be sure to come back again on June 29th, next Monday. We've got quite a lineup in store for you on the 29th. So be sure to tune in. We put a lot of effort in this one, as we do with everyone. But we got some good presentations coming up on the 29th. So that'll be it for tonight. And once again, thank you all for tuning in. It's always a joy to do this for you. And once again, we're trying to save the country, but with Convention of States. So good night, everyone. We'll let Maringo Mike close us out here, I think.
Oh, and by the way, Dale, a belated Happy Father's Day to you. I know it's a day after.
Oh, that's right. You too.
Did
you have a good one?
I had a good one. Yeah, we enjoyed the Father's Day, and
yeah.
I didn't have to do any lawn work, so that was even better.
As a matter of fact, my son took me to lunch today.
There you go. There you go. Good to hear.
That's kind of a tradition. He takes me to lunch every Father's Day. And, so I get caught up on all the news, family news, and everything.
Well,
So
both my sons are fathers, so they had their own celebrations to go to. But
right,
I get the accolades, and a couple of days later, usually they stop by to give me something.
Yeah, my daughter gave me a little gift for Father's Day.
Yeah,
I can't remember I can't think of the name of it, but it's a little thing that you can set on your dresser to put your watch and rings and
gotcha
things on that kind of organized.
An organizer. They call it an organizer.
Yeah. All right. Good night, Ken.
Good night,
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Marengo Mike here with a reminder of the importance of this year as we continue to grow the grassroots army of volunteers and the mission of using the Constitution to fix the ills of our government. Use the QR code if you haven't signed the petition and consider using your talents to become an active volunteer. Thank you and God bless.